Muhammad, oh Muhammad, Sallallahu alayka Allah, the final prophet and the messenger sent from Allah. This is the story so far.
رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الصادق الوعد الأمين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين وخرجنا من ظلمات الوهن والجهل إلى أنوار المعرفة والعلم ومن وحول الشهوات إلى جنات القربات. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Here we are slowly coming to the month of Ramadan, our last few hours in this final month of Sha'ban, and then we move straight into the month of Ramadan. And the question is today, what sort of preparation should we have for the month of Ramadan? How best can we utilize this month of Ramadan? The very first thing to think about is our traditional ideas that we have about Ramadan. What is the traditional view that we have about Ramadan? The first thing that many people think of when we talk about Ramadan, we think of fasting immediately. Because as soon as you hear, tomorrow is Ramadan, and tonight it begins, you think about fasting, as-siyam, immediately. Or sometimes you think about Salat al-Taraweeh. Like tonight, we're starting Salat al-Taraweeh. These are the foremost ideas that come to our mind. But sometimes we need to think and ponder upon what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. What is it that He says when He talks about the month of Ramadan? You see, in the Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the month of Ramadan once. Ramadan. By name, once. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. But the very first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, as soon as He mentions Ramadan, is not fasting. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. That it is in the month of Ramadan in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Qur'an. It didn't say شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه الصيام. It is not that saying that it is the month of Ramadan in which He revealed fasting. No. The very first thing He wants to remind us of is the Qur'an. That the Qur'an is attached to Ramadan. So when we think of Ramadan, we think of the Qur'an. When we think of Ramadan, we think of Furqan. When we think of Ramadan, we think about the celebration of the Qur'an itself. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the Qur'an when He talks about the Ramadan? Because it was in the month of Ramadan when the Qur'an was revealed. We know that Laylatul Qadr in itself was a night in which the Qur'an was revealed. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. Not even mentioning the Qur'an, that indeed we have revealed it in the night of power. What is this it that He's talking about? You see, in Arabic grammar, or even English grammar, when you use a pronoun like it takes the place of a noun. And it only takes the place of a noun when the subject matter is known to everyone. For example, if you say that the man walked into the mosque and he sat reciting the Qur'an. You would not say the man walked into the mosque, the man sat, the man is reciting the Qur'an. You would not say that. You would replace the subject matter with the pronoun because you know what you're talking about. In the very first instance, using the man, which is the subject matter itself. After that, you use a pronoun because you know what you're talking about. In the like manner, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ, that indeed we have revealed it in the night of power. Meaning this it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, using a pronoun, is that the audience that is listening to the ayat of the Qur'an, they knew exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. It's a known book. It's a known subject. It's a known idea. It is not strange to anyone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that He has revealed the Qur'an in the month of Ramadan. He has revealed the Qur'an in the night of Laylatul Qadr. And He reminds us of that as soon as Ramadan approaches, then we need to think of the Qur'an. What is it that we are doing with the Qur'an? How much of the Qur'an are we prepared to commit ourselves to? How much of the Qur'an are we prepared to be closer to? How much of the Qur'an are we prepared to get being memorized or to be part of our life? And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. And in this Qur'an has got guidance for humankind, not only for Muslims or the mu'min or the mu'minun or people who come to the mosque. It's a guidance for the whole of humanity. هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. And it's got clear proofs and evidences in it. والفرقان. Furqan, the criterion between right and wrong. Furqan comes from the word faraqa, which means basically to separate, a clear distinction between that which is right and that which is wrong. You are not in an oblivious state that you would pretend that you don't know what's going on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that is clearly distinct. The right path is clearly distinct from the wrong path. The path of guidance is known to people, and the path of misguidance is also known to people. The things that you should be doing are very clear. The things that you should stay away from are very clear. That's the criterion. That's the Furqan. That's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the Qur'an. So the Qur'an should really be part and parcel of our lives. This is what it refers to. The Prophet ﷺ says in a hadith, it says, اقرأوا القرآن فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابي. That read the Qur'an. When we talk about reading the Qur'an, it's just not a rhetoric process we are talking about, that you just go through qira'ah and you recite and you don't understand what you're reciting and it has no impact on you and it has no kind of influence in your thinking process. No, you're not talking about that. Iqra'ul Qur'an means that when you read the Qur'an, you read with understanding, that you understand what the Qur'an is telling us. We understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. So the Prophet says, Iqra'ul Qur'an, read the Qur'an, فَإِنَّهُ يَأْتِي يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ شَفِيعًا لِأَصْحَابِي. That it would come, the Qur'an in itself, would appear on Yawm al-Qiyamah as an intercessor, لِأَصْحَابِي, for its companions. Meaning the companions of the Qur'an would have a unique intercessor on Yawm al-Qiyamah. The Qur'an would intercede for them on Yawm al-Qiyamah. But for whom? It didn't say for the Muslims. It didn't say for the mu'min. It says, لِأَصْحَابِي, for the companions of the Qur'an. Who are the companions of the Qur'an? The companions of the Qur'an are those people who attach themselves to the Qur'an. That the Qur'an becomes their company. When they are lonely, it is the Qur'an that becomes their company. When they are lonely, it's the Qur'an that becomes the friend. When they are alone and they think about anything, they think about the Qur'an. When they want to be active, they be active with the Qur'an. When they want to have knowledge, they have knowledge from the Qur'an. When they want to recite certain phrases, they recite that from the Qur'an. When they want to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they use the Qur'an for that. So the Qur'an becomes part and parcel of their life. It becomes an integral part in their life. That's what's referred to لِأَصْحَابِ شَفِيعًا لِأَصْحَابِ. That it's an intercessor for the companions of the Qur'an. Because you adopted the Qur'an to be your friend. You adopted the Qur'an to be a companion. You adopted the Qur'an to be that intimate friend of yours that could be of comfort to you in times of distress and in times of sadness. This is the beauty of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, this phrase, لِأَصْحَابِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a similar phrase in the Qur'an when He says, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونَ. In fact, the sahibukum that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about, He says, your companion is not a crazy man, referring to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When He says, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونَ, is referring that your companion, this guy that you knew for years, You knew him for over 40 years. You knew that he's as-sadiq and he's al-amin. He always spoke the truth. He was never crazy in your opinion. But because he's producing ayat from the Qur'an now, and he's telling you something that you didn't know before, you're saying that he's a crazy man? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has vindicated this accusation, or exonerated him from the accusation that they were alleging to him, that he's a crazy man. وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونَ. Your sahib, sahibikum, he has been with you all the time. He has been with you during the day. He has been with you during the night. He has been your companion. You ate with him. You slept together. You all been interacting on a daily basis. So you know exactly who you're talking about. How come you're calling him a crazy man now? Because he's talking about Qur'an. How come you're calling him a crazy man? Because he's producing ayat. You have got a definition of what insanity is. You know that he doesn't fulfill those criteria, but still you call him a crazy man. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونَ. That your companion, the very person that you know inside out, that person that you call a crazy man, in the depth of your heart, you know that he is not crazy because you knew him for over 40 years. In a like manner, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ مِنْ. That your companion is not from among the jinns. He has not got connection with the jinns to bring across ayat of the Qur'an. This is not what he is doing. If you think that's the case, no, it's not. For 40 years, you know he had no interaction with the jinns. But because he's bringing ayat of the Qur'an now, he's bringing revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're saying that he is connected with the jinns? No, he's not. وَمَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. And the third expression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains in the Qur'an, it says, وَمَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. And your companion was never astray, nor was he deluded. If you think that he was deluded, again, you know him. You have got better knowledge than anybody else in terms of what he used to do, in terms of his activities, in terms of his social connection, in terms of his commitment, in terms of his deeds, in terms of the things that he did on a daily basis. You knew all of that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. That your companion was never led astray. He was not astray intentionally or even unintentionally. He was not, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear that no, he was not like that. If that's what you're thinking and that's the acquisition you're making, he is not like that. So coming back to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, "Iqra'ul Qur'an," that read the Qur'an, make it part of your life. فَإِنَّهُ يَأْتِي يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ شَفِيعًا لِأَصْحَابِهِ. That the Qur'an comes in Yawm al-Qiyamah as an intercessor for you. That's the day when we're going to need intercessors on Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the day when we're going to need the Qur'an to intercede for us. And even some of the good deeds to intercede for us. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in another hadith, he says, "الصِّيَامُ وَالْقُرْآنِ يَشْفَعَانِ لِلْعَبْدِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ." That fasting and the Qur'an are two intercessors for the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah. يقول الصيام, and fasting would say, أي رب منعته الطعام والشهوات بالنهار فشفعني فيه. Say, oh my master, that I prevented him. The fasting is saying, oh my master, oh my Lord, oh the master of the universe, منعته الطعام والشهوات بالنهار فشفعني فيه. That I prevented him from food and drink and for him to fulfill his desires during the day. فشفعني فيه. So make me an intercessor for him. Give me that opportunity. I'm here interceding for this person because this person was connected to siyam, was connected to fasting, was attached to fasting. So give me that wonderful opportunity that I can intercede for him. ويقول القرآن, and the Qur'an would say, منعته النوم بالليل. I prevented him from sleep during the night. فشفعني فيه فيشفعان. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then the hadith continues that I prevented him from sleep during the night. I mean the Qur'an, that's the I, the first person singular. I prevented him from sleep during the night. منعته النوم بالليل فَشَفِعْنِي فِي. So make me an intercessor for this person. I stand here interceding for this person. The Qur'an in itself is interceding. فَيَشَفَّعَانِ. And both intercessions will be granted. Meaning in a very positive way. الصيام والقرآن. Both intercessors. For the intercession that they made or they would make to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would be granted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَيَشَفَّعَانِ. But let's go back to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He talks about fasting. He talks about that person who should be fasting. He should attach himself to fasting. Not just one who claims that he's fasting. But he should attach himself, have that firm commitment to fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, مَنَعَتُهُ النَّوْمِ. The Qur'an says, I was preventing him from sleep during the night. Question. Does the Qur'an prevent us from sleeping? Is it in our way? It's for us to think about. Do we spend time during the night to be involved in the Qur'an so that we can know more of the Qur'an and get knowledge of the Qur'an?
Muhammad, oh Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi Allah, the final prophet and the messenger sent from Allah. This is the story so far.
Is that the most important thing for us? Is it this what we are doing? Do we have that claim on Yawm al-Qiyamah to say, I was busy during the night, I was studying Qur'an, I was reading Qur'an, I was praying Salat al-Tahajjud, and I was like overwhelmed with the studies of the Qur'an, so I couldn't even sleep during the night. Is that the case for us? Is that what's happening for us during the night? I don't know the answer, so I can't say. I can say yes or no for you. But for us to answer, are we qualified for this hadith? Are we qualified for this aspect, or this aspect of intercession on Yawm al-Qiyamah, or not? So, the Prophet ﷺ has given us that opportunity that you have as-siyam, that will be an intercessor for us. We have the Qur'an, that will be an intercessor for us. This is the month of Ramadan, where we should attach both of them to be the positive things in our life. So when we come to Ramadan, as it begins tonight, then we should attach ourselves more to the Qur'an, because the Qur'an in itself is the book that could take us to Jannah. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it specifically in the month of Ramadan, so that we can refresh ourselves with the Qur'an during the month of Ramadan. We can revise the surah that we have memorized. We can revise the tafsir that we have read. We can review the understanding that we have of the Qur'an to increase our knowledge of the Qur'an. This is the month to do that, to recite, to understand, and to be more committed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In another hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, Ya Ahl al-Qur'an, O people, Ya Ahl al-Qur'an. Ya Ahl al-Qur'an refers to this ummah, the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, Ya Ahl al-Qur'an, La tatawassadu al-Qur'an. Do not make the Qur'an like that of a pillow. You're not just putting it on your head and then you relax about it, you don't recite, you don't understand it, you don't study it, and it's not part of your life. You know, there are so many books that we read in life today. We have read so many books in life. Have you read the Qur'an from beginning to end in the language that you understand? It may be yes, it may be no. Have you read the Qur'an several times to derive knowledge from the Qur'an so we can implement it in our life? Do we understand the ahkam al-sharia, the laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, the laws of marriage, the laws of inheritance, the laws of divorce, the laws of interacting with people, the laws relating to parents, the laws relating to children, the laws relating to weaning a child? Are we aware of all of that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us of this over 1400 years ago. What are we doing? How much time do we spend in studying the Qur'an and understanding it? So the Prophet ﷺ says, Ya Ahl al-Qur'an, la tatawassadu al-Qur'an. Do not make the Qur'an like that of a pillow, that you just relax in it and you don't edify yourself, you don't enhance your knowledge in respect to the Qur'an. وَاتْلُوهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ. So read the Qur'an, which is true reading. which is true qira'ah. وَاتْلُوهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ آنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, during the night and during the day. وَأَفْشُوهُ, and then spread it. Share it with others. Distribute it to others. Let them know the truth as well. Let them know the beauty of the Qur'an. Let them understand how wonderful the Qur'an is. Let them understand that these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Share it among your friends. Share it among your relatives. Share it with your neighbors. Because it's good. It's something good that you're sharing with them. So they can understand the truth that you have. They can understand the values that you have got. They can understand the benefits that you are receiving from the Qur'an. They could also receive. Share it with others. وَأَفْشُوهُ وَتَغَنَّوْهُ, and read it with the proper way of reciting it. Use the rules, the ahkam al-tajweed. Read it the way it should be recited. وَتَدَبَّرُوا فِيهِ, and think about it, contemplate of it. Put some thought into it. Put some thinking into the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, that you may be successful. This is what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. If we do all of these things that are mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, then you will be rejoiceful. You will be rejoicing. Why? It's just like that of the farmers. You know the word tuflihun. Aflaha, yuflihu, iflah. It comes from the word like falah, like that of the farmer. When the farmer toiled during the year or during the season itself, put a lot of effort into planting the seed, tilling the soil, watering the crop, ensuring that he has done all the hard work because he wants a good harvest at the end of the season. And when it blossoms and he can have good harvest, he is rejoiceful. He is happy. That's what refers to as a muflih. A person who is very, very joyful. Likewise, when a believer, he employed his knowledge, he employed his commitment to the Qur'an, he employed every aspect of his activity that attach or make the Qur'an an attachment to him, then on Yawm al-Qiyamah, he would be successful, he would receive the fruits of the labor that he has employed. He has done so many things in this world, but he wants the fruits of the labor. That's why we are all involved in acts that are Islamic, in the deeds that are of ibadah, and in the things that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters in Islam, it is important for us to understand that the Qur'an was revealed in the month of Ramadan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about Ramadan, the first thing should come to our mind is Qur'an. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن, that it is in the month of Ramadan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed the Qur'an. In that you will have an embodiment of guidance, you will have an embodiment of proofs, and you have an embodiment of the things that are right and wrong. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ, and whosoever visits this month of Ramadan, then he should be fasting. It is important for us to do that. And that is why I find a lot of people recite Qur'an during the month of Ramadan. Some of them recite the whole of the Qur'an, alhamdulillah. Some of them memorize the whole Qur'an, alhamdulillah. That's really good. But more so, we must recite Qur'an with understanding. You know, I kept on repeating myself like a broken record again and again about Qur'an and understanding. We must recite Qur'an with understanding. If we don't understand the Qur'an, we need to strive to understand the Qur'an. If we don't understand a surah, we need to strive to understand that surah. If we don't understand an ayah, we need to strive to understand the ayah. And that's why we need to study. You know, like one person was telling me the other day, you know, when it comes to Islam, everybody can talk about Islam because everybody feels that he knows. But when it comes to medicine, not everybody can talk about it. They go to the doctor. And the doctor is the only one who can give them advice. It's medical advice. Because they feel those are the only one qualified to do so. It's the same thing in psychiatry. Not everybody wants to talk about psychiatry because they feel it's a field of speciality, a special field in itself. So they think that you have to study a number of years to do it, which is true. But when it comes to Islam, we feel that anybody can talk anything about Islam, and I think that's what Islam is. Without studying it, without analyzing it, without understanding the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even without understanding the surah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. This needs enormous studies. Don't think that you can just read a book or read a few pages and then you start to argue about Islam. No, we should get rid of that habit. If you want to know something, we should read, we should study it, we should find out, analyze it, and inshallah we will get knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would help us, would show us the way, would make it easy for us. It is what He says. You make effort, He will show us the way, and He will make it easy for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us the way so that we can become more and more attached to the Qur'an, especially in this month of Ramadan. Those of us who have memorized 10 surah already, we should add another 10 surah in this month of Ramadan. Those of us who have studied Surah Al-Baqarah, then perhaps we need to study Surah Al-Imran in this month of Ramadan. Let us increase our knowledge of the Qur'an in this month of Ramadan, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that it is the celebration of the Qur'an in the Ramadan, coupled with a siyam. And you have other benefits as well in the month of Ramadan itself. The Prophet ﷺ talks to us in a wonderful hadith that an angel shouts out, Ya baghi al-khayr, abshir, wa ya baghi al-shar, aqsir. An angel shouts out in the month of Ramadan. He says, oh you seeker of good, here is good news for you, congratulations. Here is the month of Ramadan. Here is the wonderful opportunity. You've been seeking to do good? Here is your opportunity now. Because the doors of heavens are open and the doors of Jahannam are closed. And shayateen are being chained, meaning that you have enormous opportunities in this month of Ramadan to be actively involved in more good. That all seeker of good, abshir, wa ya baghi shar, aqsir. And the person who is a seeker of evil, restrain yourself, reduce it, and be involved in more good deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us be successful in this month of Ramadan, and it can be a wonderful opportunity for us to go to Jannah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم أجمعين. Any questions that we have? It's time for questions now.
Muhammad, oh Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi Allah, the final prophet and the messenger sent from